Happy Saturday, everybody. It is, again, very early in the morning. It's about 5:30. I am here at the Wawa's. I have gassed up. I have got my snacks and my breakfast, and we are getting ready to hit the road to the Kehana wild area, which is a wilderness area here in Pennsylvania, just northeast of State College, Pennsylvania. So kind of in the north central part of the state. I'm going to do what for most people is a fairly short overnight trip, but I'm really looking forward to getting up there where it's going to be 15 degrees cooler than it's been down here near Philadelphia for the last week. So let's get everything going and get on the road. Alright, so this is the Kehana Wild area, which is sections of the Moshannon and Elk State Forests up in north central Pennsylvania. It's 50,000 acres. In the 50s, it had been leased to a company for jet testing and nuclear testing, and I'm not sure what the nuclear testing involved, but in the mid-60s it reverted back to the state, and since then it's been left pretty much untouched except for some small areas of reforestation. The goal here is just to let this return to nature and develop as it would without human intervention. Now, I had expected that to mean it was pretty primitive out here, but I'm really surprised at how well maintained the roads are getting out here. I was sure I was going to be two-tracking it out here, but the road out here was cinder-lined and very easy to travel. The road actually goes all the way to the trailhead, but there wasn't any good parking over there. So I'm parked about a half mile from the trailhead. I'm going to do a little bit of a road walk to get up there. So let's get moving, and I'll give you some more details as we get moving. the trip today is, well, it's me being a coward. This is a hike that most people can do in a couple of hours. It's about a 6.5, 7 mile loop. And all the reports I've read on it, people knock it out in a couple of hours. But I'm a very slow hiker, so I'm not going to do it that quickly. I could still do it in a day if I wanted to, but after the last couple of overnights being as challenging as they were, I really felt the need to boost my confidence. So I decided I was going to pick a fairly easy short route and do it in 2 days just to be out in the woods overnight. So this is a combination of several different trails. We're going to do the Crawford Vista trail, we're doing the bridge trail, we're doing part of the Kehana trail cross connector trail, a couple of other little bits and pieces all put together to make a fairly large loop. I'm going to do about 4 miles today, which is going to include a quote-unquote climb up to Crawford Vista. That climb is, I think it's 200 feet of elevation, so I'm not too worried about that. And then I'll be camping by Mosquito Creek, which is probably going to live up to its name, judging by the number of gnats that are around already. And then tomorrow we'll finish coming back out to the car. So far, this is soft and squishy and easy walking, and my pack's a little heavy. It weighed in with all the water at 28 pounds today. And I added a couple of extra snacks when I stopped at Wawa's. So it's probably pretty close to 30 pounds right now. But I have a new piece of gear that is hopefully going to help with that, which I will report on later. And I switched out a couple of things. But for now, I'm going to crush some of these miles. Yeah, crush. And I'll get back with you. So this elevation is tricking me. When I started, it was pretty mellow. We definitely had gone up worse. And so it just kind of plodded along. And then the real incline started. Imagine putting your treadmill at an angle of 6 or 7, and you probably have about what we're doing here. It's doable. It's not horribly far. I think it's done in under a half mile. But whew, I got faked out at the beginning. This is the Crawford Vista Trail. I think that sign back there said the vista was at 0.8. So I will be very interested to see just how much of a vista there actually is. It reminds me of when I was a kid, when we would go to our family church camp for the summer. And on the way home, every family stopped at the local blueberry farm with empty quart containers and quart milk containers that we'd collected all week at camp. And everybody would line up just picking blueberries and filling these quart containers. But of course, the kids were mostly filling themselves rather than quart containers. And that's kind of what I feel like right now. I just pick them and eat them instead of saving them. But it's a hiking treat, right? I don't have to save them. I don't know if you can see her up there. There's a very concerned mama turkey because back over here are a whole bunch of turkey chicks. I saw them moving around, but I think they've all gone to ground now. But she's definitely trying to get me out of this area. Let's see if we can get a better sighting of her up there. No idea if I got any good video of that. She kind of went off that way, but the trail turned this way, so I gotta go this way. But that was very cool. We appear to have found Crawford Vista. You've got to love a butt break with a backrest and a view. Look at that. All right, so I've been promising to talk about a new piece of gear that I'm using today. I'm sure I've mentioned before that one of my biggest fears about hiking is my weak ankles. They have been known to give out for no reason whatsoever, and in fact, I actually broke my ankle once exactly that way. It just rolled for no reason. I didn't step on a rock, I didn't step on anything off kilter. It just rolled and I went down and snapped it. So especially in areas where it's rocky or the ground is just really uneven, I get very nervous, and I really feel like I need the ankle support. I've been incredibly jealous of Nikki and Deb with their trail runners because they're lighter, they're cooler, they're just nicer all around. Don't get me wrong, I love my Moabs. They did a great job of supporting my foot, keeping my ankle sturdy, but they're heavy and they're rigid, and I was ending up with foot pain every time I went out. But as far as I knew, there were no other options for me. But last week I was scrolling through my news feed and I saw an article from Outside Magazine talking about the Hoka Speed Goat mid-height trail runners. And this person was advocating them for blister avoidance. But I saw mid-height and my eyes lit up because, oh my gosh, here's a trail runner with ankle support and maybe this will work for me. So the first chance I got, I ran over to REI and sure enough, they had them in stock. So let me switch this. I am testing out my brand new Hoka Speed Goat mids. They've got really good ankle support. As Deb describes them, it's like walking on marshmallows. They're very soft and squishy. I do still have them alternate laced to give room on the top of my foot where I do tend to have more pain. I might actually take this down one. I'm skipping 2 holes here to give plenty of room for the top of my foot, but it actually feels like I might not need that much. So I'm very excited testing these out. I've done 2.5 miles so far, and really I don't have any foot discomfort at all so far, which is very unusual for me at this point in the hike. I did tighten up the collars as I've been sitting here because they were a little loose and slippy, so I've tightened those up, possibly too much. We'll see how much they loosen up as I hike. But I'm very excited about these, except the color. The color really isn't me, and it's kind of meh. But, of course, as soon as I bought these, Hoka announced they were releasing a new mid-height trail runner that's in much more interesting colors. In fact, they have one that's almost exactly that shade of yellow, which I think would be fun to go hiking in. So I'm testing these out, and I might go and get those as well and test those out and see which one I like best. The nice thing about buying from REI is you can take stuff back if you're a member. So pay that $20 membership. It pays for itself in no time. But yeah, I'm really enjoying these so far. They're certainly a lot lighter than my Moabs, and they're still Gore-Tex, so they're still waterproof. So when I get pissed at the end of a hike, I can still storm through a creek and not worry about getting wet. For anyone who's curious, this is my favorite lunch. It's salami and provolone. It's pretty shelf stable. I mean, if you're eating it the first day, I wouldn't carry it for a week and expect to be able to eat it. But even just like this, it's a really good lunch. You could throw in some green pepper if you wanted to, or some crackers. I couldn't find any plain crackers at the Wawa, so I've just got the salami and provolone. But it's 310 calories if you eat the whole package. For some reason, they think that this whole thing is a serving and a half. But yeah, that's not happening. I'm eating the whole darn thing. Mostly because I don't want to have to pack it out. But, so, Soterio. It's a really nice, easy lunch. I walked a little way up the trail to see a man about a horse. And I found this lovely little campsite. It's got a beautiful fire ring. Woo. Not a lot of flat spots. But depending on how you're doing it, you could probably make something back in there a little bit. Not good trees for hammocking, but this would just be a really nice place to sit and watch the sunset. Really nice. Alright, the horseflies have started to find me, so it's time to get on the trail. Alright. Well, I almost screwed up that turn. Thank goodness I've gotten in the habit of checking my map every time I hit an intersection. Because I read the arrows wrong on that post and thought the bridge trail went straight, and it doesn't. It's the zigzag. So I got myself turned around very quickly, and I'm now going down the right path. I think there's going to be one more steep decline going down to the creek, and then I'll start looking for a campsite. This is a very nice little campsite right next to the bridge, but it's a little short of where I wanted to be. Now, we've heard this story before and we know how it's turned out, but what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the mailbox because there was an intersection there. And I actually wasn't supposed to go this way, I was supposed to go the other way. But I knew that this bridge was here and I wanted to come see the bridge. It's a very cool bridge. It feels a little unnerving, but I think it's plenty solid. So I think I'm going to go back there, and I think the trail crosses the creek and then follows along the other side. I was hoping that we'd go across the bridge here and it would connect to whatever trail's on the other side, but it doesn't. It looks like it goes up the hillside there, and I don't want to go far afield from my plan. So I'm gonna go on, and if I get to the point where I'm turning away from the creek, it's only like half a mile, then I'll come back and camp here. It's also a little buggy here, but I did see a frog over there. I scared a frog over there. He got away before I could get him on camera. So, but it's a very nice creek. It's a very nice spot, except for the gnats. And sure enough, no campsites. That whole stretch of trail was just open, fern meadow, lots of rocks, hardly any trees, no place to even really fake a campsite. It was also very hot, and I don't really want to walk back through all that direct sunlight. It's not quite, it's only 2:15, so I've got time to make more dumb mistakes. There is a creek that feeds into the Mosquito Creek. Again, about a half mile up ahead, and it looks like this is going to turn back into woods, although there is a bit of a climb. So I think I'm going to go up there, see if there's water, and if not, I'll crack and go back to that campsite. Because my other option is to go back to the car, and I don't want to go back to the car. I really want to camp out tonight. All right, let's see how we do. I've been watching a lot of hiker videos in Colorado the last few weeks. People doing the Continental Divide Trail and the Colorado Trail, and I've kind of been falling in love with Colorado. But this section of this trail kind of feels like the meadows there. Obviously without the mountains framing it in, but just quiet and open, and there's no people, there's no road noise, there's no remains of old farmsteads. It's just this meadow of ferns and blueberry bushes. And apparently they come through here with a weed whacker to open up the trail. But it looks like we're heading into the woods in a minute. And just like in my Colorado example, here's the stream running right through the middle of the field, which is lovely and cool. Ooh, and it's deep. How deep that is. That's just beautiful. But there's no place here I can hang a hammock. So I guess I'm going to check up in the woods there and see if there's anything I can make do with there. And otherwise I'm going to go to Plan D. Plan D is to continue the loop around towards the junction where I came in from the road. And there was a really nice camp spot there. So I won't go back to the car. I might as well, because I'll only be a mile from the car. But I'll camp in that site. And I know there's water there. I know there's a campsite. I know there's a fire ring. I know there's plenty of trees for me to hang my hammock. So that's what I'll do. So let's go see what happens. Well, that trail sign could have been a lot clearer. Putting the directions on the sides when the trails aren't at right angles makes it very hard to interpret. My app says I'm going this way though, so I'm going this way. And we'll see where it takes us. Hopefully to a campsite. Well, as usual, that did not go according to plan. Planning is everything, the plan is nothing. And that plan was nothing. But this is a nice spot, and I'd thought that when I went by it. at 10:30 this morning. Yeah, I got nothing else. Let me change my shoes. So, good news is I can hike 7.5 miles with backpack on my back. But let's be real, I don't think I could do it 2 days in a row. My feet do hurt, but they hurt in different ways than they hurt with my other boots. So, well, part of it is the heel in my other boots is quite a bit higher, almost half again as high as it is in these shoes. So it's going to take some getting used to for my Achilles tendon to get used to the extra stretch of being lower. It's a common problem that a lot of hikers who use what are called zero drop shoes, basically the front of the shoe and the back of the shoe are the same height. So there's no lift on the heel, which is what our feet are used to, especially in running shoes. And hikers who shift to a zero drop shoe might be fine with it for local trips, day trips, maybe a couple of overnight trips, and then they take it out on long through hikes and they end up having really bad Achilles problems because their muscles just aren't used to that lack of lift in the back. So I'm going to need to find some stretches and work with that. Overall, I like them. I only have a little bit of pain on the top of my foot. I have almost none on the bottom of my foot. My toes feel fine, which is what had been an issue with the boots. As my feet would swell up from hiking, the toes would press into the front of the boot, even though I was like a size and a half bigger than my shoe size. And I think with the trail runners, they have a little more give than the hiking boots did. So I think that's helping. So, it is, I actually invested in a real watch, so I didn't have to keep looking at my phone. It is 4:30. So I did 7.5 miles in 6.5 hours, which that is not a bad pace for me. I'm averaging a mile to a mile and a half an hour. I may get faster, but I don't really expect to. I've got stubby little legs, and they'll only carry me just so fast. Maybe I'll get better as I do it more, but this was certainly a much easier trail than anything I've done previously. There were a couple of rock sections, but not anything like what we've seen on the AT or what I saw up in on the Pinchot Trail. This was smooth sailing, not a couple of inclines that were pretty steep, but pretty short. The direction I went was intentional because I knew there was that big climb and I wanted to get that out of the way as an uphill instead of having that long, slow descent I had on the back end be a long, slow ascent. I would much rather have quick, steep ascends than long, slow, aching ascends. So, beautiful view, lots of beautiful environment. This is a great trail because you get a little bit of everything. You get a high view, you get woods, you get water, you get open meadows. Obviously, there was wildlife. Yay, turkeys. That was very exciting. I still don't know what that animal poop is. I'm starting to think maybe it's coyotes, which makes me a little nervous, but we'll see what happens. So, I've got my hammock set up. I'm going to just rest here for a little bit. I might soak my feet in the creek. I definitely need to get some more water. It may only be in the mid-60s, but being out in that direct sun, and it is very humid, so that took a lot out of me. I've drunk all 3 liters that I had with me, and I put off filtering any, thinking I was going to get to camp and I would do it there. So I'm not in trouble, but I definitely want to make sure I topped up. So I'm trying to get myself out of this hammock and do the rest of my camp chores. But it's a really comfortable hammock. Well, good morning. It was a rocky night. I just don't sleep well in new places, so. But that's okay. I was up a couple of times. It was almost eerie in the woods when I got up at 3. The mist was just coming through all the trees, and it was beautiful, but you know, that kind of thing that you can only see with your eyes. I never could have captured it on video. And about an hour ago it started drizzling, and as you may or may not be able to hear, it's getting a little more serious about raining now. So I'm going to linger here till about 7, and then it looks like it's probably a good thing I've only got a mile to the car. I do have one new piece of gear that I still haven't tested out that I thought was going to go unused this weekend, but I think it's going to be very helpful. I got a backpacking umbrella, and I think it's, oh, excuse me. think it's gonna get a lot of use in the next couple of hours. So, alright, I'm just gonna chill here for a little bit. We'll see if it stops. I suspect it's not going to. It's just been getting harder and harder as I've been laying here. So, but that's camping, right? So part of me wants to linger here and camp now that it's stopped raining. But when there's only a mile to the car, it feels kind of silly to stop and have breakfast and putter around and make a mess when I'm just going to have to clean it all up and get to the car. But, man, it's really a nice campsite. I really like being here. Which, again, it's only a mile from the car. It seems ridiculous, but sometimes that's how you find them. So, I guess I'm going to go over, get my bear bag down. I might eat a bar real quick, but I'm not going to heat up water or anything. The other nice thing is I don't have to haul water. I mean, I got all this water yesterday, but I think I'm just going to fill up my shoulder bottle and put my drink mix in it, and that'll be it for the morning. Ooh. I don't know if I showed you my bear bag in action. No more bad bear hangs from me. It's Kevlar and steel lined so that it resists bears, but more importantly, it resists things like chipmunks and raccoons and things that might try and get at it. So, and it kind of has a unique way of hanging. You do, this is a slip knot, and then this carabiner is on a slip knot, and you just feed one slip knot over the carabiner so that when something tries to pull on the bag, it tightens the knot further. So I don't have to worry about whether or not I tied the knot tight enough. I can do a slip knot, that's easy. And the bear's just gonna tighten it up as it tries to steal my food. Alright, that's that gear lesson. Oh, other new piece of gear is my new alpaca hoodie. I wasn't sure if I was going to like this. When I first put it on, it was itchy. And in the short sleeve shirt that I was wearing hiking yesterday and being sweaty, even though I was getting cold, I was still sticky. It did itch a little bit, but once I got used to it, it was just the perfect temperature. It's really comfortable. I used it as a pillow this morning. Obviously, I didn't check the temperature. It feels like it's in the mid-50s right now. So definitely need to wear something. And so I'm really happy with this. I just wish it had a pocket. But all right, let me get this bear bag down and start taking down camp. So despite my best intentions for an early start, I'm still getting out on trail at 8:30, which is very reasonable. I got no complaints about that. And it looks like the rain stopped, so I won't need to use my umbrella after all, which in some ways is a little disappointing, but there will be other trips, and I'm sure there will be rain. All right, let's knock this mile out. Now to let my mom know I made it back to the car. And there we go. And that's the end of another successful hike. I'm actually pretty content with that. Yes, I pushed it further than I should have. Yes, I am constitutionally incapable of stopping at the first campsite I come across. But I think if I'd end up camping down by the bridge, I'd have gotten a lot more wet than I did in the woods. The trees broke a lot of the rain. And honestly, I was just happier there. So, the Kehana Wild area has a million trails. As you saw, we were crossing intersections left, right, and center. I was just looking in the car, and there's just all sorts of loops and connections and shared use trails. And of course, there's the Kehana Trail itself, which I believe is an 85-mile circuit trail that goes all around the wild area. Now, that's way out of my league. I'm not going to be able to do that for quite some time, maybe in a year or two. But for right now, I'm definitely coming back here. I really like this area. I really liked how remote it was, how quiet it was. The only sounds I heard, for the most part, were airplanes, and then only a couple. Anything else was wild sounds, and some of those were a little weird. I heard some weird whistling at about 9 o'clock that kind of freaked me out, but I'm not sure what it was. But that's what we go out into the woods for, is to have these new experiences. So thanks for coming along with me. Next week, I'm probably going to post our kayaking trip from last week. And then the week after that, I'm doing another short overnight. I'm not sure where. It's really tempting to come back up here, but I'll probably go someplace different next week. So stay tuned. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.